Raise your hands if you have ever owned a pet. Not sure why you raised them, this is not a live video. Well, that pet you own, or are friends with if you hate the word own, was not always a pet. It was a wild animal, a completely different species, carrying a different genetic code, roaming freely in the ancient world. But then, domestication occurred. Domestication is a mix of natural and artificial selection influenced by humans through breeding. These techniques came about when humans realized the usefulness in partnering with animals in hunting or farming. Thus came about the evolution of domesticated animals. Genes favoring human association were passed down to offspring. The artificial selective pressures imposed on several animals by man led to a retention of juvenile characteristics and a tame nature. Most barnyard animals, dogs, and even foxes were domesticated this way. Cats, on the other hand, became domesticated through more of a natural selection method where attributes favorable to human captivity allowed the historical survival of those particular cats. The more independent and successful the animal is when hunting for its prey, the harder it becomes to domesticate it, which is why cats and foxes are some of the more recent, relatively speaking, domesticates, while dogs were domesticated around 12,000 years ago. Let us begin with the most recent and well-studied mechanism of fox domestication to gain a modern sense of this phenomenon.
To study domestication in a controlled setting, geneticist Dmitry Belayev set up an experiment to domesticate wild foxes. The purpose of Belayev's experiment was to artificially select for tameability and study the effects that arose over time. The level of tameability was measured in the foxes every month until sexual maturity, which occurs at about 6 months. The foxes were assigned to different classes depending on their reaction to humans. If they bit or attacked, they were assigned to the lowest class. If they were friendly towards humans and actively wanted human attention, they were assigned to the highest class. Only the highest class would be used for mating. Over time, changes were observed that are similar in other domestic animals. Observed were floppy ears and changes in coat color, and a baby face that features large eyes. For coat color specifically, foxes developed a white star on their head, the same white star that is seen in other animals like the cow, dog, and horses. In only 40 years, foxes were domesticated to go from this to this. Belayev and the other researchers believe that these changes were due to the genes controlling tame behavior being linked to those that cause these specific changes. This theory makes sense due to the similarities and changes that are viewed in other domesticated animals as well. We will now discuss some of these other examples of domestication that occurred in much less experimental conditions, the cat and the dog.
Friendly and lovable, dogs are man's best friend. They exhibit more phenotypic variation than any other mammal, with up to 340 breeds recognized by the World Canine Organization. In their 2008 paper, Cruz et al. Wanted to see how the accumulation of deleterious mutations in dogs are linked to their domestication. The first phase of the domestication of dogs was the taming of small subsets of the ancestral wolf, Canis lupus, in multiple locations. The second phase involved population bottlenecks associated with domestication and with human population changes. In addition, early dogs were selected for traits such as tameness and the ability to bark. This, along with other examples of artificial selection, has caused selective sweeps at multiple loci within the dog genome, with an increase in the probability of deleterious mutations nearby becoming fixed. In addition, using whole genome SNP data, they found that the ratio of non-synonymous alleles to synonymous alleles was around 50% greater for SNPs found in dogs than in wolves, with most of these being deleterious. This suggests that artificial selection for desirable traits may also involve a cost and could contribute to the multitude of genetic diseases that can affect dogs.
Because domestic cats still retain many similarities with wild cats, they are considered semi-domesticated animals. Cats, however, were beneficial to ancient human populations as they would kill rodents and other small animals that ate stored food supplies. The earliest known domestic cats date back 4,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, but their earliest known human-cat interactions date back to 9,500 years ago in Cyprus. Current research suggests that the domestication of cats occurred via commensal pathways similar to that of dogs and other agricultural animals. To find areas demonstrating signatures of selection, Montague et al. Used whole genome sequencing on cats from different domestic breeds as well as from wild cats. Using this method, they found 13 genes with low domestic heterozygosity and high divergence important to neural processes. These genes are involved in synaptic circuitry that influences behavior. Important genes relating to cat domestication include a pair of protocadherent genes and the glutamate receptor genes.
But next time you see your dog or cat, just give it a nice hug and show some appreciation for the trials of selection their ancestors had to go through for them to become man's best friend. Do not give any foxes any hugs, at least not for now. Domestication is a complex evolutionary process that allows us to not only learn more about our furry little friends, but also about the overall beauty of selection.